We are just 5 days away from the season opener for the Alabama Crimson Tide, the much ballyhooed showdown with USC, number 1 versus number 20. And then, of course, a few weeks later, it's a diving into SEC play. We bring in Stephen M. Smith from Touchdown, Alabama. You can also catch him Monday through Friday from 6 to 8 Central Time. His show is The Way It Is. It's on Tide 102.9. So let's set this scenario up for the season. We've got all sorts of storylines. Let's start at quarterback, of course, because it's still up in the air exactly who's going to start. So at record time right now, it's down to Cooper Bateman and Blake Barnett. So kind of size those guys up, and, of course, Jalen Hurts waiting in the wings.
At this point, who trots out there first? Saban has been known to put the older guy out there that's paid his dues, that's done his time. John Parker Wilson, Greg McElroy, A.J. McCarron, Blake Sims, Jacob Coker. So at this point, I can definitely tell you Cooper Bateman very well may trot out there first. The young man from Murray, Utah, 6'3", 224 pounds. He's got speed, running a 4.59 in the 40-yard dash. At one point, Alabama was actually experimenting with him at receiver last year, but that was merely an experiment, still a quarterback. The one thing that Cooper Bateman does have to his disposal, aside from the knowledge of the playbook, is the ability to excel in short to intermediate routes. Does a really good job with those. Something that he's going to have to improve on is being able to stretch the field, especially with as deep as this receiving core is. In years past, Alabama's always had the big name, the Julio Joneses, the Amari Coopers, if you will, the Kevin Norwoods, who really weren't the big names, but in big games they managed to shine and show themselves. This year, you've got 4 to 5 guys on this team that are all dangerous. Calvin Ridley, number 1, Ardarius Stewart, Cameron Sims, Garrett Dieter, of course, O.J. Howard. There are so many weapons on this team that are going to want the football and are going to create ways to get open to get the football. So for Cooper Bateman, he's going to have to be able to stretch the field, have the confidence to step up in the pocket, scan the field, make sure the matchups that he sees, giving a one-on-one battle, putting the ball out there, protecting the football most importantly, but also giving his guy a chance to go up there and make a play. When you look at Blake Barnett, everybody fell in love with when he first came on campus, Corona, California, a 5-star recruit when he enrolled in 2015, a guy that was very much so in the battle last year. At one point, talking with Lane Kiffin at Alabama Football Fan Day back on August 7th, the coaching staff really thought that it was going to be his job last year, but struggled with keeping the weight on him, and he would have one good practice, one bad practice, was kind of up and down, and that hindered him. Talent. The guy's got a lot of confidence. The thing with Blake Barnett, consistently make good throws. That's the question for Blake Barnett. He has moments where he's firing a tight spiral, dropping a dime on the money, and then the next throw, he's firing it somewhere in the double coverage. He's making the wrong read. He's anticipating something to be there, and it's not there. Can he consistently put himself in the frame of mind of making the best throw, making the right throw, taking care of the football, and basically keeping this team in position to win ball games? It comes down to stretching the field for Bateman, protecting the ball for Barnett, with Hurts waiting in the on-deck circle there, using the baseball term here, Mark. But when you look at Bateman and Barnett, due to the experience and Saban normally putting the older guy out there first, paying the dues, Bateman will try out there first. Barnett will get some series in. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen Hurts trots out there. But due to the experience of Bateman, he will go with the redshirt junior first off.
Okay, Alabama wants to pound the rock more than anything. That's foundational to this offense. And we've talked about the running back situation before, and there's been a trend at Alabama that's been broken here, because typically we have two proven exceptional backs in the backfield, and one moves on as he is a year more experienced and moves on to the NFL, and then that leaves the one guy that we know is a proven commodity. That's not happening here, despite the five-star talents of Bo Scarbrough and Damien Harris. So they both carried it 35 to 50 times, something in that range last year, but not meaningful carries against a USC and Ole Miss when the game is on the line. Kind of size these guys up for us in regards to what they bring to the table.
First off, Bo Scarbrough brings strength. He's big size, 6'2", 228 pounds, a big-time playmaker, but a guy that's going to have to, number one, have the want to. There are times where Bo Scarbrough has all the potential in the world, but he doesn't have the want to. And you got to have that effort, especially if you're going to play for Nick Saban and the University of Alabama. Nick Saban mentioned during his presser after the second scrimmage, talent is given, effort is not given. You have to put the effort out there. And there are times where Bo Scarbrough puts it out there and times where he kind of side shades back and does not put it out there. He's going to have to give a 100% effort and also condition his body to stay healthy. Scarbrough sustained 2 serious knee injuries during his time at high school, whether it was at Northridge or in Tuscaloosa or at IMG Academy at Bradenton, Florida. He got dinged up after the first scrimmage. Healthy and have that want to. With Damien Harris, this guy, smooth, has polished his footwork, tremendous patience as he's grown in that area since last year. A guy that has heard all of the Bo Scarbrough talk throughout the offseason. And Damien Harris, to his own credit, here's a young man that's the second Kentucky native to come to Alabama and play running back. The first, of course, was Sean Alexander. He left with 15 records in the Alabama history book. So 6,717 rushing yards, 111 touchdowns in his career at Madison Southern High School in Berea, Kentucky. He goes to the Under Armour All-America game and sets a record, 16 carries for 122 yards and a touchdown, and comes with Blake Barnett, Calvin Ridley, Minkah Fitzpatrick to the University of Alabama as part of that 2015 class. And MVP of a spring game, 20 carries for 114 yards. Just looks smoother, looks polished in the vision, polished in the patience, polished in the footwork. I've watched him in practice, a very willing and sound pass blocker, something that Alabama backs must do when they're on the field. You got to pass block. Derrick Henry did it a lot last year. Of course, Kenyon Drake did it some in the backs before them. You got to be able to pass block, step in there if a blitz is coming, and give your quarterback an extra couple of seconds to get the ball out. A fantastic job of that. And not just him, the freshman running back B.J. Emmons from Morganton, North Carolina. This is a kid that's going to get some playing time this season. He has immensely impressed. You talk about the footwork, the speed. B.J. Emmons put out a tweet on Twitter a couple of days ago listing his 40 time at 4.32 seconds. You talk about picking it up and putting it down. The brother can fly from Freedom High School. So here's a third guy who's going to have an immense opportunity to play. And then you have Joshua Jacobs behind him. You have Derek Gore, a former walk-on, in the mix as well. But just sizing up Damien Harris and Bo Scarbrough. Bo has the potential. Can he develop the want to? Not overlook Damien Harris. This guy is hungry.
All right, we're doing a bit of a season preview here with Stephen M. Smith. Alabama 2016 is kicking off in 5 days against Southern Cal. All right, Stephen, despite a daunting schedule that I've rated as the 6th most difficult in college football, USC, LSU, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Arkansas, etc., this team is so talented, and Nick Saban's such a good coach and has such a good coaching staff, they win 8 or 9, 10 games sleepwalking. So difference between contending for an SEC Western Division championship and what's expected, that they win the SEC, that they get to the college football playoff. What are those make or break positions or issues that need to be cleaned up and that need to be solidified?
I think the number one is going to be center. Center needs to be solidified. You go back to a lot of the guys that have played center at Alabama, whether it was Barrett Jones, Ryan Kelly, these guys were polished players. These guys kept the continuity and the communication, not just along the offensive line, but also relaying that to the quarterback, relaying that to the running back, relaying that to the coaching staff. So that center position must be solidified. Alabama can't afford to have issues with the quarterback to center to quarterback exchange. It cannot have issues where, you know, the center sees something, but the quarterback sees something different, and there's not a conducive flow there. So that's definitely got to be worked out. That's number one. Number two is the quarterback position between Barnett and Bateman. Who goes out there and really, really wins and commands this football team? I go back to the 2014 season. Blake Sims won the team with his play in the final scrimmage. He also won the team and the fan base during Alabama's game against Florida, where Sims threw for 445 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 42-21 route. He also came back against LSU, and though it wasn't the prettiest game for Sims stat-wise, 20 of 45 passing, he did what he had to do to get a critical win in Death Valley in overtime, 20-13. Going back to last year, also with Jacob Coker, had a good start against Wisconsin, struggled against Middle Tennessee State, was benched for Cooper Bateman against Ole Miss. But when Jacob Coker was benched the second quarter against Ole Miss, you saw when he entered that huddle, the way he was able to win the team, to communicate with the guys, to get these guys rallied around him. And despite a 6-point defeat, 43-37, everybody kind of knew at that moment it was Jacob Coker's team. He won the team. He won the fan base. He won the coaching staff, and it kind of spiraled on from there. When you look at Blake Barnett, Cooper Bateman, who goes out here against USC and does the things necessary to win the team, to win the coaching staff, and really get the ball moving. So quarterback and also center. I think another position that kind of needs to be solidified for Alabama is on that interior line, defense-wise. We know Jonathan Allen. We know Deron Payne. We know Dalvin Tomlinson. We know guys like Sean Hand. But who is that next wave? Who are the other guys that Alabama can look to plug in and there's no drop-off? When a Jonathan Allen comes out, who comes in, plugs in, there's production. When a Dalvin Tomlinson or Deron Payne comes out, who comes in, plugs in, gives the effort, gives that production. So that, to me, it's definitely quarterback, center, quarterback, and that depth along the defensive line has got to be worked out.
All right. He is Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Also join him on Tide 102.9 on Monday through Friday from 6 to 8 Central Time for The Way It Is. Stephen M., we couldn't do it without you, man. Appreciate the breakdown.
No problem. I couldn't do it without you guys, man. This is Mark Rogers right here. Could not do it without Mark Rogers sending me that email. I appreciate it, man. All
right, Stephen. We will enjoy that game. There's no doubt. It's a battle of heavyweights on Saturday night to get us started.
I'm game for it, and also will be game for the Labor Day matchup between Ole Miss and those old Florida State Seminoles.